Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Chem Greenhouse. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Dr. Ann Louise. She is known as the First Lady of Nutrition and author of 30-plus books on health and wellness. And I have to tell you, one of my greatest concerns today is the electromagnetic pollution that is hitting all of us in our homes, at our place of work, in our lives, as we go out socially, as we drive. I'm very concerned about the youth population, children that are walking around with cell phones in their ears, the amount of cell phone towers that are around, and how we're in this invisible environment of electropollution that's so profound. And because it's invisible, a lot of us aren't dealing with it. We're not questioning it. Ann Louise has written the most incredible book. In fact, I want to say to all of you listening, every adult and every teenager should have a copy of this book to be responsible for their own health and well-being. This is a must-buy. It's called Zapped: Why Your Cell Phone Shouldn't Be Your Alarm Clock and 1,268 Ways to Outsmart the Hazards of Electronic Pollution. Ann is a New York Times best-selling author. This is another blockbuster. It has to do with what's happening with you personally that you can't see. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the First Lady of Nutrition, Dr. Ann Louise, to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
It's all true. Well, the first thing I want to say is that it's really scary. I've known about this for years, and it seems like there were a lot of, quote, esoteric options to deal with the level at which we're bathing in electromagnetic pollution. But your book is so profoundly realistic and has so many complete applications for trying to ward off a lot of what's happening. That's very, very practical. Why 1,268 ways? Did it just happen that way?
But who's counting? Who's counting? Why your cell phone shouldn't be your alarm clock and 1,268 ways to outsmart the hazards of electronic pollution is a wonderful subtitle that my publishers came up with Zapped.
Well, they're brilliant, I'm telling you, because it's probably true that there's 1,268 ways.
and more. And I think that the real problem here, as you so eloquently stated in your introduction, is that this is a kind of pollution that you can't see, you can't hear, you can't smell. But oh my goodness, we are certainly feeling its impacts, but not very many of us, Kim, are really connecting the dots. I think this is the most inconvenient truth of all, and this is a huge underground secret that even your doctor isn't talking about. And that underground secret is that we are all being zapped. Nobody is sounding the alarm about the truth regarding the cumulative, and I would say chronic effects of EMF or electromagnetic energy fields. And that's all this electropollution that's coming from our beloved cell phones, our cordless phones, our iPads, our smartphones, our microwave ovens. Think about it. We are absolutely immersed in a sea of about 100 billion times more electronic frequencies than our grandparents. So this is something to be reckoned with. As many people think, this is not just advancement, but this is the shadow side of what we call the wireless revolution or evolution that is impacting all of us. And I dare say that there has been a dramatic rise in so many diseases over the last 10 years. And I truly think, Kim, that this has paralleled the increase in microwave radiation from our environment. And I think that's enough to make us all pause and say, hey, it's time we take a look at what we're living in, what we're surrounding ourselves with, and that is in our workstations, that's in our play areas, that's in our homes, and that's also in our schools as well as our malls and our airplanes and our coffee shops these days, because you can't go anywhere without being immersed in this stuff.
The other thing that's really scary to me is that wireless is being popularized like a meme. And it's so profound because wireless is cool. The devices are, quote, cool. There's branding in the wireless. There's neuromarketing in the wireless. And so we are absorbing a wireless paradigm A as being cool and good and in and, quote, effective. So part of it is consciousness, and then the next thing is everywhere we go, as you just described, we're immersed in it.
We're immersed in it, but let me tell you something. There was this concept that as long as the radiation that you're exposed to is not ionizing, meaning it doesn't heat or create a thermal effect on tissue, or knock out an electron from its orbit here in the good old atom, that it was absolutely safe. So people are under the misguided notion that all of these lower level frequencies are not impacting health. Well, the good news is there was a recent study in a peer-reviewed journal, which is none other than the Journal of the American Medical Association, which showed that cell phone radiation actually changes brain metabolism. And I think that's going to change this misconception that it's only the ionizing radiation from CAT scans and X-rays as they accumulate in your system that are going to create free radical damage that will affect the body. What we now know is that there is a change in brain metabolism. That means that there could be a possible shift with regard to DNA, as well as your cell membrane, which closes down, and the misfiring of your neurotransmitters, because the body absorbs this very low-level energy almost as if it's its own and can't really tell the difference. And so when DNA starts to break and the cells begin to misfire and your nervous system goes on autonomic or sympathetic overload, we see problems accruing, whether it's problems with your memory, whether it's a problem with a growing brain tumor, or a problem in terms of nauseousness or low-level feelings that you may have the flu consistently. All of this can be connected and has been connected in the literature, by the way, with all of these fields that we are currently immersed in. And I must tell you that in 2007, there was a landmark project entitled the Bioinitiative Report, and that was reviewing over 2,000 peer-reviewed studies from about 30 years of science, and it showed dramatic and very compelling health risks that were associated with chronic EMF exposure. Sometimes it was up to 10 years, sometimes as little as 5, and that included the increase of Alzheimer's, of breast cancer, of Lou Gehrig's disease, of EMF, immune system hypersensitivity, disruption of our brain function, the way the JAMA study just corroborated, and, of course, the breaking of our DNA and leaks in the blood-brain barrier. So the research is out there. The research is out there, but we're not hearing very much about it, Kim, because this is a big industry that we're fighting against.
It's almost as powerful as the pharmaceutical lobby, the telecommunications.
Well, you know something? It probably is the second most powerful lobby that's out there if you think of the trillions of dollars in terms of telecommunications. And everywhere you look, there's a smarter smartphone. So the reality here is that we're talking about technology that has certainly made our lives easier, that has made business perhaps flow more efficiently, and I can't really say that, to be honest with you, because I see a lot of miscommunication now that goes on in terms of people reading their emails, sending all sorts of instant messaging and so on and so forth. But more importantly, I think, is the understanding here that with technology may come health risks very similar to what we found, for example, with low-level HRT that was so popular so many years ago. And this is a public health crisis that's in the making. It's out there because we're all exposed, and you can't just walk away from it like you can from secondhand smoke or decide not to go into that tanning bed anymore. You're immersed in it whether you like it or not, and it's impacting you within your home, your workplace, and in the school environment, as I said. That's the problem. And there are no tests out there or no research to condone the cumulative effects of what this is doing to the body. So as soon as the studies come out, I'm ready to jump on the bandwagon, and we have to become real activists because this technology is really being planned as a major rollout throughout the country with even more high-powered antennas than we currently have now in our neighborhoods.
I have to tell you something. After I read your book, I went to antennasearch.com.
I love it.
I noticed that there are 158 tower structures detected within 4 miles from where I currently live.
How many are there now? There are
158 tower structures detected.
Oh, my goodness.
7 new tower applications detected as of 3/8/2011 and 400